Welcome, everybody. This is the first inaugural SmartBots.ai sponsored webinar. Our conversation today is really going to focus around AI in banking, hype versus what we hope eventually will become hands-on, high-impact initiatives, right? AI has the ability of making dramatic impacts in the financial services world, but there is a lot of hype. So I pulled up some headlines just from today. NVIDIA invests in OpenAI. They've announced another $100 billion investment in OpenAI to expand the computing power. Meta and ARM Holdings have partnered. Meta is going to use ARM Holdings technology to power its AI recommendations across Facebook and Instagram. Like, we need more of that, right? I mean, we're going to be recommended based on algorithms and AI what we should be paying attention to. BlackRock AI data center deal. BlackRock, a BlackRock-backed group is purchasing data centers for AI from Aligned Data Centers in a significant deal worth tens of billions of dollars. And finally, AI applications in the job market. Looking for a job, and I'm semi-retired. I am not looking. Thank goodness. But the study suggests AI could replace the equivalent of 300 million full-time jobs. Lots of news, lots of hype. We see it, we hear it every single day. What I'm hoping that this series does is helps us cut through some of the noise and chatter that's out there.
I worked in banking, retail delivery to consumer banking, back office, payment processing for both consumers and corporate. Something that started off being called alternative delivery, which we now know as mobile or online banking, not so alternative. And then I moved into a startup that focused on payment processing. And from there, I became a Gartner analyst in the banking and financial services industry for many years, writing about the changes in payment processing, delivering banking services from home banking through mobile banking. And now I'm on my own as an independent analyst and consultant to various software companies, and also co-founder of a little something called FinVino, which brings
FinVino.
together, wine and fintech.
Oh my goodness. Wine and fintech. And that fintech conversation will probably include a lot of AI.
Yes, yes. I mean, AI is pervasive in everything and everywhere.
Let's talk about kind of the macro view. What are banks and credit unions? Where are they on the AI adoption curve? And how much of what they're doing is it fluff versus real things that are transformational?
I think it's tempting to sort of plot one place where banks and credit unions, community banks are. I think the challenge is that there's multiple places. Okay, so the old traditional Gartner hype cycle and where you are on it. The problem with AI, it's not one thing, it's many things, and to slot it into one aspect of banking is the biggest challenge that I think financial services, banks, and credit unions have. So they're everywhere on the curve of adoption, and it depends on what aspect you're looking at. Typically, you can break it down between operational efficiency and customer facing. But again, I think that's also easy. I think the focus on operational efficiency is moving along because it's measurable. You can measure how many processes did we fix, how much friction did we cut out, and sometimes how many FTEs can we replace. I mean, those are all measurable benchmarks. But I think, obviously banks that have deeper pockets may be further along in adopting more AI. But that doesn't mean smaller financial institutions can't also move quickly.
Yeah, and my experience has been since the advent of these online, we'll call them agents, I don't even know how you categorize like the live persons of the world, right? And some of the other antiquated um, internet-based, I guess they were chatbots at the time, before there were
Yeah,
chatbots. I don't even remember what they were
scripted,
called.
scripted.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and I see a lot of bankers trying to create an AI-based product solution almost. And I said vendors
Yes.
offering that too. They
Yes.
try to sell you AI in a box, and I
Yes.
think AI is much broader than that.
Yeah. And this is, I think, the biggest temptation and challenge and obstacle to success for banks and credit unions. Um, is to look at AI in a box and say, we've done it, and then we can move on, or we can sit back and we can relax. And um, that's going to be problematic because that will just be keeping up with some level of minimum confidence around AI, but not exploiting it for the bank's own use. Like, what kind of problems do you have? What kind of customer needs do you have that you can't fulfill, and how can AI support them? Or how can AI support your hiring process, right? Or how can I worked with a bank a year or so ago that had, over 1,000 products. I have no doubt there might be a couple of overlaps, right? And I'm sure other banks, financial institutions have that. How can we streamline our product set before we move to how can we create new products that our customers need, right? So I think, but if you go into that AI in a box thing, and there's nothing wrong with putting AI in your delivery solutions, but there's a whole other way to do that. And the key is around data. And just looking at it as customer facing is problematic, or just operational efficiency is problematic, or all these other things. And I think the other thing that it forces banks to do is to look at their back office, their architecture. You can't exploit AI for your own benefit, i.e., increase profitability, increase customers, and all of these things that you want to do if you neglect back office architecture and what it is and isn't doing for you.
Yeah.
And making the tough decisions around replacing, you know. So I think that's the real challenge, is like looking at it as not just a banking enterprise, but a whole banking organization enterprise.
So I am the co-founder of SmartBots. I've been in this Gen AI and conversational AI space for good amount of time. Gen AI recently, but for about 7 years in the conversational AI space, helping enterprises build, deploy, and maintain their AI agents. So we started implementing chatbots, the scripted ones, and then slowly graduated to more complicated use cases. And for the past couple of years, we have been working in the end-to-end process automation, the workflow or the process-based automation for the banking industries and few other industries as well. So that's what we at SmartBots have been doing. I'm a technologist and a solution architect at heart, so I love solving problems for enterprises. That's a brief about me.
What are you seeing now, looking beyond the banking industry? Because you've got vast experience in telecom and in pharmaceuticals, biomed. Like, what are you seeing as far as the AI movement is concerned?
So I think I'm aligned with what Stessa was mentioning in terms of more of operating efficiency use cases are taking center stage because one, they are low risk, they are not customer facing. You have someone in the loop, human in the loop to validate before it goes to the end customer. So we were primarily doing customer support, and we thought that okay, customer support is the low hanging one. People, the enterprises would quickly adopt, but uh, uh, we were wrong at few places because customer support, though it is low hanging, easier use cases, because the customer is there, enterprises are stepping back. The technology is easy, but the risks are high. In the internal use cases where there is a process driven workflow based use cases, where the Gen AI is the latest tech that we are seeing, and in Gen AI has a step improvement in the way things can be automated quickly and faster. We've seen sales automation, underwriting in the case of banking. We have seen in the pharma, the structured data. There's tons of data which the companies have. So the agents are sitting on top of this data, processing them like an analyst, and then giving insights. These are few use cases that I'm seeing that are taking a lot of interest internally. But one more point I would like to conclude, I would like to tell and then conclude is that there are lots of use cases which are coming up just for the sake of AI, because there is a lot of hype around it. People want to
Yeah.
somehow spin a use case around AI, and that's where we see great amount of POCs are failing because they want to somehow fit a use case into because there is tech. And this is the first time I mean, at least in my career, I'm seeing where the solutions are out there and we are trying to find the problems and fit them into possible ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is when I worked for a CIO in a financial services startup, what I call the Monday morning problem. The CEO read something or heard about something over the weekend. He would come in and drop it on my desk and say, let's do that. Well, we don't have that problem. We don't have that need. But he's hearing it from all of his friends and whatever, and he thinks we should do it. And it becomes a big struggle. So I think banks and credit unions can rest assured that they have plenty of issues, plenty of problems that they can address, and they can use AI and other technologies to address them. I mean, one of the pieces of data that I just love from eMarketer, I have no connection to the company, had in a survey last year was that they found the number one use that customers wanted AI for was around security and fraud. I mean, there you go. Who doesn't know of a security problem every day happening in banks? Fraud is on the increase. So there's a problem, and it's customer facing, and it relates to millions, if not billions of dollars for banks. So, I mean, in enterprise wide, it happens at a branch, it happens on payments, it happens on transactions everywhere. So, I mean, I think bankers should just like, okay, you heard something, it's all the noise, but solve real problems. And you have
Yeah.
plenty of them.
It's interesting you bring up fraud. I mean, I've had several conversations with local bankers in this part of Virginia, and we're actually SmartBots is talking to a couple of them, First Advantage and AB&B, and the subject of reconciliation in AI came up as well as fraud in AI has come up. So vast amounts of data. But the issue with AI that's interesting is while I do believe there's a huge opportunity for AI to mitigate fraud, AI in itself can create fraud, right? With deep fakes, with cloning, with
Yeah.
robocalling now that is remarkably real. I got one the other day telling me that my funding from Goldman Sachs, okay, was approved. And they had my paperwork, and I'm listening to it. And I actually put it on my Facebook page as a warning to others. It sounded remarkably realistic. I have nothing to do with Goldman Sachs. Okay, I have a
Yeah.
couple of friends that work there, and I also am not doing any lending. But for the average person, they may ask to speak to somebody, and then they're going to give up a social, okay, because they're going to ask on the other end for some verification. So that
Right.
AI does generate fraud.
Yeah. And credit unions, community banks, just because they're smaller, aren't exempt from keeping track of this and working on solutions or with providers who can develop solutions for them.
Yeah.
I think this is a great opportunity for credit unions to, what's the word, work together, collaborate, and build solutions that all of them could leverage because it's all the same problem. And, particularly the elder consumer is is a has a big target on its back, and a lot of members of credit unions and community banks are older. The older Gen X, boomers and above. And, you know, one of the things about AI that it requires bankers to think about is what is their mission and what are the values you're going to support. And if you're not supporting your customers and protecting them, you know, that's a challenge. You know, you just can't throw out the AI because it's great, because you can't forget this fraud problem on the back end, the proactive, the voice stuff. So it's not enough to validate me, but are you able to what can you do about that?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there are plenty of issues just around in this area that banks can start now before even they address maybe some of the infrastructure issues, which will pop up, you know, and force them to finally address these things.
Yeah. So,
But yeah.
so JP, let's talk for a second about AI hype versus, you know, maybe a bubble. Do you think there's a potential AI bubble right now, or do you think AI is going to become kind of
No.
embedded in all the things that we do?
So yesterday I was at a lunch and this was the whole topic of conversation there about the bubble. And so one interesting answer that I got, and I'll repeat that, is that the look at it from the technology angle and from the business angle, how OpenAI and NVIDIA, that circle of investments are going on. From one hand you give and from another hand you take. So that is a financial bubble that I would say that is being played on because of the technology hype that is out there. But if you look at the plain technology as such, it is remarkably significant or improved from what we had. I've been in technology for close to 20 years. I've never seen such a good tech coming out. Everything was incremental. This is 10 steps ahead. So
Yeah.
definitely there is a value we can generate from the tech that we have. We have to remove the fluff of the financial, what do you call, the money that is changing hands. If you keep that away, but that will definitely have an impact, unfortunately, on all the AI initiatives that enterprises are going to take. But as such, fundamentally, the technology is great. So for enterprises, what I would suggest is to look at the business problems like Stessa was saying, and then see where tech can fit in instead of chasing the tech for and trying to fit a problem there.
Yeah.
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 I think that makes sense. Stess, any other thoughts on that?
I think JP is exactly right. I mean, of course, it's a financial bubble and that can't go on forever. And I think, again, bankers have to stop chasing the bubble and know this is a cycle, and look for providers that have built something that's not just, oh, here's the one widget that fits in that hole, but it's something that is useful across the enterprise, and that the company is solid, that it's not too invested in the bubble. But all tech goes through this, and you know, it's of course. I mean, that it surprises anybody. It's just people who are just trying to create a soundbite, I think. So
Yeah.
I think he's
I
spot
will
on.
say this. I think this is one of the most impressive times to be within the banking industry, right? I think that there's an opportunity for AI to drive real transformational change. If you're a bank or credit union and you really want to change, you really want to become more relevant and contextual, this is the time.